Greetings, church. I hope you're all doing well. I wanted to share with you some things that God was teaching me through his word. I am reading in Second Chronicles. And I started in Genesis and I've made it to Second Chronicles. And through that time, I just see over and over again this on and off again relationship between God and his people. And it's not that God leaves them, it's that his people constantly turn away and go after some other love and worship some other creature. In Second Chronicles, there's this time in history where there's an evil queen. And the evil queen becomes queen because she pretty much kills off all of the royal family. And the problem with this is that God had promised David that his bloodline would continue to rule over his people. And so there's a question is God not going to keep his promise? But God always keeps his promise. So when this evil queen was destroying all of the people, all of the children, or pretty much the male children, this little guy, his name is Joash, his aunt hid him. And he was an infant and he was hidden for 6 years. Well, about the 7th year of this evil queen ruling, the people were like, this is enough. You're not really the queen and you're evil and we've had enough. And so they made Joash the king, even though he was that young. Well, Joash was a godly king, and he did what was right in the sight of the Lord. And he had a priest who advised him and gave him great wisdom from the Lord. And so he began to rebuild and repair the temple and the things that the evil queen and the people before her had destroyed. So I'm like, yes, God's people are finally doing what they're supposed to do. Because while you're reading the Old Testament, you're like, yeah, they're doing what they're supposed to be. And no, here they do again. And yeah, so I'm excited because they're doing what they're supposed to do. But very quickly, the priest dies. He lived 130 years, but he died during the reign of Joash. And Second Chronicles chapter 24:17 says, after the priest's death, the leaders of Judah came to persuade him, meaning Joash, to listen to their advice. And there we go. He listened to their advice instead of seeking godly wisdom. He listened to their advice, and they decided to abandon the temple, to abandon the ways of God. They started putting up all these poles to worship all these other gods and these idols and these things of the past that just are not real gods. They replaced God. And here we are on this roller coaster again. But God doesn't give up on them. He sends a priest. He sends Zechariah. He sends the priest to draw his people back to him. And once again, he gives them chances. He warns them. But do you know what Joash did? After all that time serving God, he killed Zechariah. How quickly we can turn. How quickly God's people leave him. I tell you, we're on this roller coaster again. So I got to keep reading to see what happens, but it's up and down. And I ask myself, how are we any different? I don't know about you, but I'm up and down too. How quickly am I praising God in 1 second and then the next doubting him? How quickly am I turning to him and asking him for help and then turning and looking for help in other resources? We're just like them. But God is gracious. He continues to seek after us. He continues to send us people to speak into our lives, to share God's word with us because he loves us. How many times has he taken us back? It reminds me of that old Third Day song. It came out when I was in high school. It's called Take From Me My Life, or Take My Life. It talks about how many times do I leave him, but he never leaves us. Thanks.